I'm a Lyft driver. I drive everywhere. I'm gonna tell you something. They completed that train line from Culver City to Santa Monica in no time. It affected 0 businesses. They weaved around the communities.
I've been on lockdown my whole life.
And the one in Crenshaw, because it's owned by so many black people, they're systematically dragging it out, allowing them to shut it down. And when those businesses get shut down, you know what's gonna come in? The Asians, the white folks. They're gonna own that business. But Nipsey also was doing the opposite. He saw that, and it was like so much things happening. That's what I'm like. It all comes back to money, having the money, seeing what we can do to apply this money to, and like stopping it, just cutting them out. That's
I also think being in like a good mental state before like getting the money, because there's a lot of black folks with money. There's a lot of real crazy. I feel like as black people we need to prepare ourselves for the money that's coming in. We need to like figure things out within our community and hold ourselves accountable. Like I love the whole like, yes sis, yes bro, whatever, like I like that, but like I also feel like we need to hold each other accountable when shit's just not okay. Like that's tacky. Stop. That's not helping the community. Stop. That's whatever, like just get it together, because, and not to say like you need to look more like them or you need to not be comfortable in your blackness. Be comfortable in all that you are, but also know that like your mindset behind the actions and things that you're saying is not healthy. So when you get what you are trying to get, the bag or whatever, you ain't even gonna know what to do with that.
Why does it seem though that we have, like, it seems like we have to be perfect in order to gain this freedom? I mean, there's so many people who are fuck ups within the white community and they're still free, they're still running whatever. So why do we feel like we have to be perfect and we have to do this? I mean, LeBron James has like all the money in the world and he still has like...
No, I like what she's saying.
She's right.
Absolutely.
At this point, we just don't have the privilege. I mean, we don't have that. LeBron James, he has like all this money. He's like one of the biggest celebrities. He's got tons of white followers, but he still had like racist whatever like thrown in his yard or whatever. I mean, Oprah went shopping and some white people like disrespected her. I mean, she's fucking Oprah. So I mean, it doesn't even seem like money is even really enough. I mean, Chris Rock said something about how it wasn't until he moved into this white neighborhood and being Chris Rock and famous with all this money, he felt like he was on the level of like an average white doctor.
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't think that we will ever be free in their eyes. It's never going to be. I don't care.
That's why I have to be here.
It's never. Yeah, it's never going to be okay.
No. It's gonna happen, trust me. So it was in the beginning.
Do you think it'll happen in our lifetime?
It can.
Probably not in our
Because
lifetime.
there's,
That's what I'm saying.
I didn't think we have a black president in my lifetime, and we did. I was told we wouldn't have a black president in my lifetime, and we did. So it can happen. It's just really, what are you willing to sacrifice to get there? It's really about, it's like, yeah, it's easier to go to this hair salon here, but the black-owned one is 10 miles down the road. Are you willing to sacrifice a little bit more time to go and support your own?
But I also think too, with supporting our own, they gotta step it up too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you think that also goes into like upbringing and what you're exposed to? You know what I mean?
It is.
We might not be privy to some of the resources that they have.
Well, and also white people are told from a young age, and really told it in a way that's meant that you can be anything, you can have this, you deserve this.
Yeah.
This is your birthright. You just haven't been told that. We've been told from an early age, whether it be through media or anything else, that we don't belong in these spaces. So it's going to take a while to break that. Like what you said at the beginning, mentally, we have to just decide that we are good enough and that we are free. And if anyone disagrees with that, we will walk right over them. You know, it's like we've been nice for too long, and there's just a point where we have to just decide, no, I want to be free, and I am, and that's just what it is. It's like,
how do you think we find the balance with like walking in our truth and having pride, but also not walking around with a chip on our shoulder?
not have that chip on it. There's a difference between saying like, I hate you because of your oppression, or be like, I'm not an oppressed person, I'm not going to be, you don't have a right to oppress me. There's a difference between being like, I don't know how to describe it, like walking through the world seeing everyone as an aggressor, or just seeing yourself as a person walking the world, and if someone happens to get in the way,
then we'll handle that problem.
Absolutely. Yes.
I don't know. I feel like that's actually something that I'm dealing with right now. Just because growing up in Texas, you would think that you'd get a lot of racism being a black, but I never got anything. Never got to experience anything in Texas. Never experienced anything in New York, at least blatantly, until I moved here. And just now it's become really hard. And I've gone through this whole phase where I feel like I'm walking around with a chip on my shoulder that I never used to do in New York or Texas or whatever. So I'm trying to tell myself to just recognize that this is what it is and just kind of operate from that level of this is how it is, but I don't have to walk around with that chip. Just know that it exists, but just do my own thing and make my own way.
We're in Texas.
Sugar Land, suburb of Houston. Super white. Asian. Yeah. So
I've never personally had that feeling, but I have a 19-year-old daughter. I told you guys, and she was never black enough, and she was never white enough. In school during the week, all the white kids, they played, they hung out, but when it came to the weekends, they weren't asking her to spend the night or hang out at their houses. So that was very difficult for her. So she has very bad depression, and it took a toll on her. And as a parent, all I could tell her was, you be who you are. You are a beautiful black girl, and you have a huge family, and we're close, and you don't need friends, and you don't this, and you don't that. But as a kid, no kid wants to hear that shit. You know what I mean? Like, that don't mean nothing. It's always been hard because she's never been able to find her place. And that's been hard for me because letting her go and going to college, it worries me. Because I'm like, is somebody gonna do something to her or be harsh to her or mean to her? Because there's no such thing as acting white. But she acts white. You know what I mean? Like, not to say it like that, but you understand what I'm saying. She's very white. She's very whitewashed. So letting her go out on her own, I was very afraid of how people will receive her. She put herself in counseling her last year of high school. That's what people put her through because she couldn't be black enough or she wasn't white enough or, so it's hard.
I grew up in the suburbs in predominantly white spaces. And I don't know if this is a West Coast thing or a Vegas thing specifically. I was never treated as terribly in the white spaces as I was in the black schools that I had attended. Or with my family, I was treated like a person. It took me years to realize that kindness that I was being shown was a lot of times racism masked as acceptance. It was like, you are our black person. I look back on it now, I'm at 32, and I'm like, that shit was racist. And I realized the microaggression, growing up, the people being like, oh, I'm blacker than you, Ariel, and it's like, no, you're not, Chelsea. It's like, but it's just like, but it's like there were so many moments like that, and it was really hard growing up in that because I always wanted to be closer to the black side, and they just, in Vegas, did not want me. On the other hand, it trained me because I know how so many white people think, different types of white people think. And once I came into my strength, as I like to call it, I ended up getting a job at the country club out here, and I was like, oh, I can do this. I grew up in the suburbs. I'm ready. I was not ready for working in that white space now that I was not afraid to be
it was all
100% black.
White people too, right?
It was mostly like millionaires, billionaires, and it was just like at the point where I decided like no one's gonna shut that shit down. I think that's why so many suburban black kids come back 10 years later and have dashikis on and shit, because we finally like came into it and we're like, no one's taking this away from me anymore. And once I like made that realization, I could not be in that white space. It's a really hard experience for a suburban black kid to deal with, especially when your own community is like, nah.
Yeah. We have to like reconnect. I was watching this documentary. I love documentaries. But he talked about like what the white men saw when they came to Africa first, and they wrote about it before they thought about like enslaving us and like ripping us apart. They said they were overwhelmed. Like these were like white explorers saying they were overwhelmed by how these people lived. the unity, the respect that we had for our elders, you know, and they broke that. They broke all that, and I think we have to reconnect. Like especially like the black men, we need to see the beauty in our black women, you know, and the women need to see the beauty in us too.
Yes.
Like Asians pretty much only want to date Asians. They see the beauty in each other, you know, and their community is strong. You know, their community, they support each other. I mean, we have Chinese, Jamaican, and I mean, it's so crazy. These people, like, they speak pure Jamaican, like 100% dialect. You know who they date? Only Chinese. You know who they hire? Only Chinese. In Jamaica, 95% black. It's crazy how even they're so far from their country, they're still so connected. I mean, a part of that comes from they weren't like invaded and enslaved by the white man, so their culture still gets preserved. But we as a people, we have to connect. We have to connect back to our roots, and that's what Marcus Garvey was saying. I keep getting back to the same thing: love and money and connection.
I really think we're really distracted as a people. Like, we're really distracted. There's so much in media now that it's just like such a deterrent from like the goals of what we